Hey everybody, welcome to the great outdoors. Welcome to another episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about what's the point of climbing. More specifically, what are these things that people are saying when they say red point and, points and points. There's a lot of people, what are those? They're confusing me. Josh, help. Today, I'm going to give you the beta. Let's send it. Yeah, so there could be a lot of jargon in climbing. So I guess we'll start with what an on-site is. An on-site is when you come up to the route, come up to the rock, you have zero prior knowledge. This means you haven't read the guidebook. You could probably read the guidebook of where the climb is, but if the guidebook talks about the crux, talks about the moves, not on-site. If someone's giving you any prior knowledge and any beta, not an on-site. Some people may even argue that if there's chalk on the holds and tick marks and things, not an on-site. Zero prior knowledge. So don't let it's a spoiler alert. Don't let anybody spoil it. You want your on-site, nobody can tell you how it's done, okay? That brings you to a flash. And a flash, and both these things, they have to be done from the ground to the top in one go. No falling, no resting on gear, bottom up. Now a flash, you can't have prior knowledge, but you can't take any falls. You have to do it in one go, first try. Now, if it's not your first try, then it would be, you'd probably call it a red point at that point. So a red point is when you do it from the bottom up, but you could rest on gear, you can figure moves out, work on it and everything else. But you're also placing gear as you go. If you're not placing gear as you go, then you call it a pink point. So we're talking basically trad climbs for now. I mean, we could get into the realm of sport climbing, but if we're bouldering back to on-siting, people will say you can't on-site a boulder. You can only flash a boulder. This is because you could look at the boulder and you could see from the bottom to the top and you could work out exactly how the moves are. I don't know about that. That's an argument to be had for me, because I think some boulders could, first of all, they could be pretty high. Second of all, they could be really beta intensive. And if you don't have a certain skill set, to figure these, because climbing is basically a puzzle. If you know the riddle to the puzzle, then you're gonna solve it. But if you don't, then you're not. And some people's skill at solving these puzzles are better than others. So I think you could on-site a boulder, especially if it's high enough or it's a really complicated boulder. I think I'd call it an on-site, not a flash. But anyway, I digress. If you start from the bottom to the top and you're working the moves out and then you do it in one go from the bottom to the top, placing gear, you've now red pointed the climb. Congratulations. But it has to be one go from the bottom to the top, but you've worked things out and you've tried it multiple times. A pink point is when all this gear is already placed, like you came from the bottom, rappelled down, worked out where to place the gear, so you don't have to worry about basically sport climbing at that point. So all sport climbing is basically pink pointing, unless you're clipping the draws as you go, I guess. I guess there's a little bit of an argument to be had there, but that's what a pink point is if you ever heard it. I think there's another one, which is more slangy, which is a black point. If someone says they black pointed it, basically means they came back to the climb and they can't climb the thing. It's just they keep failing on it. So now you're black pointing. You've digressed. You've atrophied. You have to figure it out again. And then I guess the last point would be a dead point. So a dead point is, imagine you had an apple and you chuck the apple in front of you, and just for a moment in time, this apple is going to be completely weightless, where it's just floating in air, and then it's going to start falling back down. If you could do that with your body and you swing or you jump or you dyno, whatever, it doesn't have to be a dyno. Dyno's something else. But if you're chucking yourself up and you're weightless, and then you're grabbing the next hold right as you're weightless, boom, you've dead pointed that move. And that's my style. I like to dead point everything. I'm constantly micro adjusting and swinging up and getting my body weightless to move up. Especially if you see shorter climber climb, that's usually how they have to get to each hold. They're just lunging up and grabbing things instead of statically moving and then reaching up and grabbing things. So that's a dead point. I think that's all the points of climbing there, besides a brown point, which is when you poop your pants because the climb is so scary.